Hi everyone, my name's Siobhan Lancaster. I'm the CEO and Managing Director of 92 Energy, which is a uranium explorer in the Athabasca Basin of Canada. And we're currently in the midst of a three-way merger, which I'm sure we're going to talk about.
We certainly are, Siobhan. Thank you for joining us. It's getting a little bit exciting out there for sure. But I wanted to catch up with you and get an update as to how things are progressing and more importantly around the timing of it. So first of all, thanks for joining us. What can you tell us? What do we need to know?
Well, the merger is progressing as planned, which is always good news for investors. We've had a good share price reaction, both 92 Energy and of course Atha Energy as well as Latitude. I think the market likes the transaction, which is always good news. We're just working our way through the process. So we're looking at putting out our scheme booklet sort of mid-Feb to late Feb. That will go out to our shareholders. And then the scheme meeting is due sort of the last part of March. So last week of March, we're expecting that.
So what's happening here? You're saying sort of Latitude will get over the line first in the sense they're going to put it to their shareholders at the end of Feb. You're going to put yours at the end of March. Why the delay or the staggered approach?
So they actually have different rules around takeovers in Australia and Canada and different timelines. So the notice of meeting, for example, I think in Canada is 20 days. The notice of meeting in Australia is 30 days. So just the different timelines mean that, we're a full month behind Latitude.
Okay. And then talk to me about your shareholders and how they can, play this, so you have a lot of very happy shareholders that this is going through. Great share appreciation, 36 up to 60 cents. No one's complaining about that, I'm sure. But if they were and they wanted to get at, what do they do?
Yeah, so look, obviously this is a Canadian company that is acquiring us. Atha Energy is listed on the CSE at the moment. We actually Atha recently announced that they're hoping to uplist to the TSXV. So we're not quite sure of the timing for that. And of course, that is subject to the TSX making a decision in relation to it. But hopefully that occurs prior to the end of the transaction. So we're hopeful of that. Now, for our shareholders, they, of course, can stay in the stock. We are trading at a slight discount to the implied value at the moment. So I think on Friday it was around a 77 cents implied value. So we were trading around 60 cents. So there still is a little bit of a discount there and a bit of upside for people, assuming, of course, that the scheme vote goes through and the Atha share price holds.
Right. And then we've had a few people sort of comment on the fact that, well, we're Aussies, we're in Australia, we can't, or my broker doesn't trade on TSXV. Obviously for them, end of the line?
Well, not quite. There are quite a few international brokers that the Australians can find. Canaccord, of course, has been helping us with the transaction, and they, of course, are an international broker. So if any shareholders are interested in giving them a call and setting up an international account, that is an option. But we also will have a share sale facility. So if investors want to hold on until the end and get the scrip from Atha, they're able to do so and opt into that share sale facility. So what that share sale facility actually means is that they can still sort of accept the consideration and the share sale agent will actually sell those shares on their behalf within the first 20 days of the transaction taking place.
Okay, fine. So there's the kind of process laid out. I'm sure there's a lot more information on your website as well. Let's talk about the benefits of this. And so maybe for people kind of coming in and looking at this new, can we just remind ourselves about the deal and what that's going to do for 92 Energy shareholders?
Yeah, sure. So it's obviously a three-way transaction that we've spoken about. So Atha Energy is a Canadian listed explorer. They have the largest land package in the Athabasca Basin and the Phelan Basin. So, of course, we'll get access to their assets. Latitude as well will be coming into the transaction. They, of course, have the Angelac deposit, which is in Nunavut. That is a 42 million pound historical resource, and we're hoping that has significant expansion potential. So that's quite exciting, and we're looking forward to getting out there and drilling that project as well. And then, of course, our Gemini project. So we'll have access to a significant amount of cash in this new combined entity. It'll be approximately $65 million worth of Canadian money. And that, of course, will be deployed to all of these exploration programs, including our Gemini program that we're really keen to get out there and do a lot more drilling on. Of course, we've spoken previously on this show about the 14-kilometre trend, which is yet to be explored, called the Gemini trend. That is something, that if you have some money to deploy to, there's a good probability of additional discoveries along that trend. So as we know in the Athabasca, there's trends which have series of deposits on them. So we know that the Triple R and the Arrow deposit, for example, are along the same trend. We know that the Rabbit Lake trend had Rabbit Lake, Eagle Point, Collins Bay, a whole series of deposits along that. So this is something that we're very excited about, to be able to get out there and explore that trend further, and really explore the GMZ zone further as well.
Right. Okay. So the transaction that's being put to your shareholders at the end of March, will you get access to the money when you need the money to actually get on with it, or we're going to miss a whole drill season? I mean, is the timing going to work out perfectly for you?
Actually, the timing should be great. So we've been doing some geophysics at the Gemini project just to get ready for the summer drill program. Actually, the best time to drill Gemini is during summer. And so those drill seasons tend to begin at, late May, early June. So it's actually, very good timing. All of the takeover, if the timetable, remains as expected, everything should be done and dusted sort of early to mid-April. And of course, everything should be together by that point, well in time for the summer drill programs.
Okay, fantastic news. And now we've spoken with Troy a few weeks ago. He seems very excited, laid out the plans, seems logical, sensible, and things very excited, well, especially about your Gemini project. What I guess people are going to be asking questions. What are you going to do? Do you know yet? Have you talked about roles and how you remain active?
Yeah. So look, of course, Troy and I have very complementary skills. He's obviously extremely technical. He's got that background from NextGen, that background from Cameco. So, he's a great person to get out in front of investors talking about the geology. He's also very commercial. I'll be working alongside with him. I've obviously got more of a corporate background, corporate M&A, so we have very complementary skills. He's very sort of American focused or North American focused in his history. I'm, more Australian and African. So it's very complementary during this timing in the market. And, I think it's going to be a great team. I'm looking forward to getting out there with him.
Okay. And literally getting out there with him? I mean, you're Perth-based.
Yes, I am Perth-based. But, I have managed to run a company from Perth, so it's been done before. Look, sure, I'll be doing a bit of travel back and forth. Yes, I think it'll work well. So I'll be on the board and Troy will be doing the day-to-day management of the business.
Okay, fine. Let's talk about the broader market. And obviously, people are getting quite excited. Equities are running a bit. Haven't really kind of caught up with the excitement and fervor that's we're seeing with regards to spot price, for instance. Mind you, neither is term price. So do you think that perhaps people are just getting a little bit excited and we've still got a waste in the sense on spot price, but equities have got to play catch up, don't they? Or are we done?
Yeah, look, I do think equities are a little bit behind the eight ball here. I think that the spot price has moved very quickly and very rapidly. And so maybe parts of the market are struggling to believe, well, is there substance behind it? But if you're a really true market observer in the uranium space, you understand that there is a fundamental supply side issue. And of course, Kazatomprom, their recent announcement, basically takes 9 million pounds out of the market next year. So just to put that in context, the second largest mine in the world doesn't produce 9 million pounds of uranium. It's a huge amount of uranium. And so, I think you'll see term prices very quickly start to catch up. You've got to understand as well, the way they quote those term prices in the market is the lowest contract price gets quoted. And so I think as well, it's a slight sort of, it doesn't give you the true picture of what's really going on in the contracts. So my understanding is, floors and ceilings are really starting to change dramatically. They've been going up. I think we'll see that those ceilings, might be done away with altogether, which would be really great for the producers and the suppliers of uranium out there. So, look, I think equities is going to catch up at some point. They have to catch up at some point. This is a real market. This is a real market problem as well. So, the spot has run hard, but, there's often a delay. It takes a while to negotiate a contract and really understand the impact of, what's happened in the market through that long-term contract pricing.
Right. I mean, given those pounds coming out of the market, and even Cameco, I think they've had a few kind of startup problems of their own. And you look, I'm saying this, I'm asking this question in the context of you've worked in Africa, right? You've served in Namibia, and actually, there's one for you. So obviously, the Prime Minister has just passed away. 82 years old. I think there's been a transition, and the new person stepped in. It seems seamlessly, but so obviously I think people are asking questions like, well, is Namibia going to be okay? But the next cabs off the rank seem to be the African plays. Those are the ones that are sort of most advanced in terms of development and most likely to kind of maybe start seeing those contracts signed and monies raised and builds starting. But it still feels like a big gap. This delta between this kind of delta between what the forecast production is in 2025 versus the demand. We still got problems out there. What do you think? Maybe the utilities know something we don't.
Look, I mean, I think we were having this conversation prior to us starting this interview. Look, I don't really know why utilities sort of haven't got a bit more ahead of the 8 ball here, I've been watching from a distance and looking at, China going and entering into these massive contracts, what's been going on there. And, look, if I was a US utility, I would be paying really close attention to that and thinking, well, why are they doing that? Do they think there's a problem with supply, more than 3 years out? They obviously do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be going out to the market and entering those large contracts with Kazatomprom, So you've got to think of it like that. They're very strategic in how they think. It's not an open market. They're looking at, well, we're having the largest nuclear build out in the world at the moment. How are we going to make sure that we can keep the lights on going forward once we build those nuclear reactors? And so maybe they're looking a bit further out into the future, and maybe that's where the utilities in the Western world are not. They're a bit more sort of 3-year cycle. So they might have a bit of inventory, but they're going to eventually go through that inventory, and it's going to be a real problem for them in the making.
I think it is, and I think people are also looking to see where Kazatomprom fall. They've got contracts with Western utilities at the moment, but will that remain the case going forward, or will we see all of those pounds heading east? That again is going to cause some real price movement. I suspect it's like bidding wars is I guess what people are expecting. Siobhan, thanks for giving us an update on where you're at. So we should be looking to hear something post end of March, so beginning of April. Really, you'll be able to announce what the results were of the shareholder.
I mean, the shareholder meeting should be the end of March. So that's when we know exactly, what is, the final decision on the deal is in the hands of the shareholders. And that, of course, will be announced to the market as soon as we have the results of that. So
right.
The scheme booklet is something to look out for. All the information is going to be in the scheme booklet, and that should be available to shareholders in the next few weeks.
Right, and assuming the vote is positive, how quickly before conclusion of the transaction?
It's a couple of weeks post the actual vote is when the transaction is concluded. So 92 Energy is no longer listed on the ASX, etc.
Beautiful. Okay, Siobhan, appreciate your time today. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.